Welcome to the Tact Talks podcast. This is a place where some of the most innovative and fastest growing tech companies in the Northwest can share what they're up to and hopefully impart some wisdom for people who are pursuing a career in tech. I'm joined today by Dan Glenn from iVendi. How are you doing, Dan? Thank you for coming down.
Doing well, Jack. Thank you.
Very good, very, very good. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself to get us kicked off?
Yeah. My name's Dan, as you just said. I'm the VP of Technical Operations at iVendi. You know, a bit about my background as well. You know, I am a software engineer, is what I've been doing for most of my career. And then sort of came through architecture and did architecture at a few companies. And then, you know, what interests me the most at the moment is kind of building high performing teams to make the difference on the companies I'm working for.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So, you've obviously had a very, as you said, you come from an engineering background, which is amazing. You're very passionate about technology. I've worked with you for quite a few years. You come from an engineering background. What was your journey from becoming an engineer to where you are now?
Yeah. So, you know, I starting at the beginning, I got a degree at Nottingham University. Yes. That was in electronic engineering. And the most interesting part of that course for me was the software side of it. So my first job after that was an American consultancy called AMS, doing C++ development on big telecom systems. So
Right.
Big, nice, massive waterfall projects. That first year in there was quite influential for me because I met my wife there, who would become my wife.
Wow.
And so a year after that, we moved to Germany and worked on another big telecoms project. And you know, that taught me a lot about, you know, traditional ways of building big projects, of, you know, big waterfall requirements gathering, all those things, as well as giving me a good foundation in, you know, the software engineering side of it.
Sure.
After that, I kind of moved more into the Java world, worked for a bunch of different companies in a bunch of different places, including, betting companies in Gibraltar. Wow. I was out in Spain, living in Spain for 5 years, working in Gibraltar. And then, you know, most recently I was working at the Co-op bank for a company called Radical, doing a sort of a consultancy, working as an architect there. And then I worked at Manchester Airport Group went in as lead tech, and then was head of tech, leading up some of the teams there. And now I find myself working at iVendi, which is headquartered in Colwyn Bay, but our technical team is remote. They were Manchester based around Salford Quays before, but now it's an entirely remote thing. So I'm trying to help that company, help iVendi grow. You know, we've got massive, ambitious growth plans that's going to see us at least doubling the size of the product tech team from, you know, we're about 50, that part of the company at the moment, probably be at more like 100 in a couple of years. Wow. So it's, you know, big plans to support big ambitions that, you know, the leadership of the company have. So, you know, that's one of the reasons that I'm hanging out with you as well, not just because you're a nice guy, but because, you know, we need to get the right people, largely engineers, working with us.
Amazing. So from Nottingham to Germany to Spain to Manchester to Gibraltar, to Manchester, now to remote, to question mark.
It could be anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's great. So you say you're growing like crazy. What's fueling that growth? Why are you growing so massively?
It's the opportunity, really. You know, so what iVendi does, a lot of people won't have heard of iVendi. So the sort of vision statement is we help consumers buy cars and retailers sell cars.
Sure.
Or vehicles more generally. And, you know, we're kind of a B2B and B2B2C kind of company. So our customers are typically mostly dealerships that are selling cars and the retailers. And we provide the, you know, the digital tools to allow this omnichannel journey for consumers. Now that is a real thing for us because, you know, a lot of people buying cars, they still want to go in and physically see the vehicle that they want to purchase in the dealership, and then, you know, they also want to have an exploratory phase online, and so we support both of those things. So, you know, we have a tool that dealers can use in the dealership. We have obviously consumer facing journeys that you know, dealers can put on their websites or you know, have actually in store to take someone's finance application or put a quote together. So we you know, bridge that gap and allow people to go on that car buying experience both physically and digitally. And so, you can go in to the dealership, you can get a deal put together, you can send that out, you can have a look at it the next day. And so it really sort of allows people to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And search for and buy cars in the way that they want to. So that's the sort of foundation of what we're doing. So where does the growth come from? We've been around for 10 years, are doing well. We've got a profitable business, got a good decent tech foundation that's supported that. But there's loads more to do. Part of that is developing what we do in the UK with the thousands of dealers that we work with here. And another big exciting part of it is to take what we're doing and roll it out internationally. So we already work with a partner in Germany, a sort of leading finance provider there, and we built a marketplace for them, which was voted best car buying marketplace in Germany, which was great by the people that were using it. And so that's our first step into international waters with that partner. And so we want to continue on that journey and continue to expand internationally, focusing on Europe for the next few years, because there's a big opportunity there, and a lot of people are trying to get into that. It's a slightly more immature market than what we have in the UK. So, that means there's opportunity for us to take all that cool stuff that we've been doing here and take it to new markets.
Wow. How exciting. Okay, fantastic. You ran me through what iVendi does previously, and it sounds amazing. And I guess my first question was, what sets you apart from the other automotive car companies, in the UK? And it is from what I understand, it's because you are having that relationship with the dealerships. You're not kind of cutting them out. You're getting them involved in the whole process, right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Like I say, our customers are really dealers, and we have important relationships with banks and lenders as well, because our heritage is automotive finance. But yeah, we are. We're not competing. We're helping retailers sell cars and consumers buy them. And so typically what we're doing is, we've got best of breed search, which allows you to search for sort of lifestyle searches, as well as the traditional faceted type search where you say, I want a BMW, I want a 3 Series, whatever, and you have to kind of know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
We provide the search where you can say, I want a 7-seater family diesel that is economical, or something like that, right? And the sort of leading search element of what we do is probably the best in the world, I think. Allows people to find cars in that way, because if you're like me, I'm not loyal to any one particular brand. I'm not a massive petrol head, and so that's a really important part of it. So allowing people to find it, that sort of top of the funnel, people are looking for cars, and allowing them to find that, and so putting that onto a dealer's website, really powerful. And you're getting really good conversion down to looking at a car. We're providing all the finance quotes. The search might be, I can afford 300 quid a month. So, that's all incorporated into the month as well, the financial elements of it. But yeah, it's empowering the dealers to sell more cars and allowing the consumer to find the right car.
Okay, so I understand that search function is only a small part of what you guys offer. But just thinking about it now, that it's kind of it is like an online dealership, isn't it? Because if you go to another company, I won't name any names, but like I said, you have to have an idea of what you want. You can't just go like you would to a dealership and say, oh, we need a family car that's going to be able to take the kids to football practice or whatever. So it is like an online.
It's a really important part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the first. It is the top of the funnel for people that are looking around. So it's a big part of what we do. It's quite important, and it's one of the most visible parts. And when it comes to generating leads for dealers, getting somebody to the right vehicle that they're interested in, it's at the heart of it. And so we have a lot of tech and product knowledge underneath that, and we work with some internal tooling. We do a lot of work on the taxonomy in the vehicles so that you can search for certain things, and we work with some third parties as well to help us with that. We're working with Algolia, who's a sort of leading search provider. And there's a great roadmap just on that part of our product alone. Around firstly supporting other languages, but this sort of natural language and intent, and all those different things. And a great classic example of this search is around the Qashqai.
Okay.
Nobody knows how to spell that, right? that car. And so, I think we found about 60 different ways that it's been spelled, and finding these insights as well into what people are searching for. Not only does it help people find the right vehicles, but the data behind that means that the dealers can use that information to say, what, I should be buying more of these into my stock, these types of car, because this is what people are searching for. Yeah. And so it goes all the way through to the dealers managing their inventory as well.
I'm sure Qashqai appreciate that as well.
Yes,
I can imagine someone writing Qashqai Ford.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So obviously you're growing overseas, which is amazing, which makes sense for the amount of growth that you guys are going through. I guess with that comes quite a few challenges.
Yeah.
Especially from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
What challenges have you come across, or are you expecting to come across?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's some things that you'd imagine, right? We need to worry about having the right resource to do multilingual, multi-currency. We need to worry about data sovereignty and elements like that. But apart from those, I guess there's two main things. One is around scale. Two things around scale actually. One is the scaling the tech, and the other is scaling the team to support it. So around the tech side of it, in terms of the numbers that we do, I think in our busiest month this year so far, we've done 200 billion quotes that have been served, and that's to many millions of unique users that are accessing our systems. Usually through dealer websites. So if you think about those numbers and you imagine rolling out to a few more countries, you kind of quickly get up to a trillion, really big numbers. And so, the engineering challenges behind that are interesting. And, that's the kind of thing that, as an engineer, these are the nice problems to have, where, we need to serve an awful lot of quotes very fast, while keeping them, in the millisecond kind of range. So, scaling out that is a great technical challenge for us. And, how do we do that across those different territories? And how do we roll out releases and all that side of stuff? We use AWS predominantly. And so, we can rely on their data centers in the various regions, and that helps with data sovereignty as well. But some really good challenges there. One of the other sort of tech things that helps us there is we do a lot of containerization. So we use Kubernetes. So a lot of the services that we are rolling out and deploying, we should be able to sort of orchestrate that and scale that through Kubernetes, which we use EKS in AWS to help manage that. So it's continuing at that. We've got some good tech around that. We've got some legacy tech debt as well, as you'd imagine, for a company that's 10 years old. But generally, it's pretty good. We are in AWS. We're containerized. We use event sourcing in many parts of the system. So these are all positive things that help us scale and grow. Yeah. And then the other side of it was about the team.
Yes.
Yeah. So scaling a team is arguably a bigger challenge, or maybe I would say that because I'm looking for people.
All the interviews, yeah.
But we try and set up with the product teams as sort of multidisciplinary, empowered teams. So we've got a product lead, some tech leadership, the engineers, the QA, a data analyst, UX design. I'm sure I'm missing some people, but the team should have the people within it to move at pace, rather than having to hand things off from one team to another. So that's the way that we're set up. The challenge is, how do we grow that? So we've got 3 teams of various sizes at the moment that are set up broadly like that. And so as we try and double the size of it, how do we do that? What will the teams look like in 2 years compared to now? How do we bring people on at the right pace? And so that's a sort of structural organizational challenge that sits alongside the technical challenge that the great engineers that we've got and that we're hiring are solving.
Wow. So you've done, I got it from your times at Mago, while at Ivendi, while at your previous places, you've must have done thousands of interviews, I assume.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to count. It might be up in the thousands. Yeah,
some good, some bad, some in the middle of the road. While at iVendi, again, you're recruiting for people who can build robust systems and systems that are scalable and are going to last. What do you look for when recruiting somebody? Not, from a tech point of view, .NET Core, AWS, event sourcing. I guess in terms of attitude or ways of working, what do you tend to look for?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. There is the tech fit, but sometimes you're willing to make compromises on that if it's the right person. I'd say, I'm looking for people that are interested in the why, in the context of not just taking a ticket off the backlog and working on it, but understanding what value are we hoping to deliver by this, and being curious about the business. I think that's a really positive trait. And when we're talking about empowered teams to make decisions themselves, they can only really do that if they've got the context of why they're doing it and what the business goals are. So that sort of at any level, whether it's a grad coming on or a principal engineer, just that curiosity about why we're doing work and what the product roadmap is and why it's going in that direction. That's quite important to me. Similarly, curiosity about tech as well. Don't be scared to look at new technologies and bring those to the table as well, which most engineers do typically tend to bring. They tend to be interested in tech and trying out some new things. So that's great. Then probably finally, it's all about the same theme of curiosity, really, but being open to trying new ways of working as well. Especially when we look at where Ivendis come through, where we've grown from a startup to a successful company of the size of what we are at the moment. It's about 100 people in the company. About half of that is the product tech delivery, and then we did have a Manchester office, and then in the pandemic we're all working remotely. So the ways of working has been thrown into disarray to a certain extent. And so, being interested in how we're working, how you're interacting with your colleagues, how work is flowing through the team. I look for a bit of that as well in people.
Yeah, and I guess how do you get that out of an interview? I think curiosity, you can quite quickly tell in an interview. If they're asking why, if they're asking loads of open questions around why are you doing this, why are you doing that. How do you get a sense of someone's personality and how they're going to fit within a team in an interview? Because I think that's a big part we always get from people that are hiring.
It's a good question, and I don't know if I can give you specific answers on that, but the interview style that we typically run is we try and keep it as conversational as possible. Definitely. So we set the context of the business, why we're hiring and how the teams are set up, and then we get the person to start talking about their experience, what they're interested in, what they're passionate about, what they've done and learned from the past, and it quite quickly turns into more of a conversation. And so we might drill down on a bit of tech, or why did you choose that way of doing that? And just by having that conversation, rather than it just being fire a question, wait for an answer, fire a question, wait for an answer.
Yeah.
If we make it more conversational, then you can tease out the kind of elements of curiosity, sure, or depth of knowledge or breadth of knowledge that people tend to have.
Interesting. So how they deal with criticism, perhaps, or how they deal with how they get to a solution. Okay, that makes sense. And I think something probably worth mentioning here is because I think a big point of contention with a lot of hiring managers is the interview process from one person. Some other people believe in a 5-stage process with technical tests and a kind of total wipeout themed sort of challenges. And other people say a 15-minute call will offer them the job. And I think what you guys do great is that you're very flexible on the interview process. It's not a one-size-fits-all. If you have a great conversation with someone, you feel comfortable, you'll go ahead and make an offer to that person. Or, if you think there's more questions unanswered, you get them on another call. If you think there's some technical gaps, then you'll get them on a test. Do you think that's the right way to go about it?
I think so. Typically our first call is an hour, so it's not a massive investment on either side. But you do get a lot out of that. Sometimes where either the candidate's not sure, we're not, or we come out of it and we're comparing notes and we think, oh, we didn't ask about something that was important for that role. And so we will then sometimes set up a second one, or maybe we've hired people into different roles than they've interviewed for in the, as well.
Sure.
And so, it could be, this person is going to be a better fit on that team. And so we'll set up another interview to speak with the people on that team. But yeah, the flexibility is important because, we don't want to have someone coming onto the team that isn't going to get something out of being with us, as well as, of course, the reverse, where we want to get something out of the person coming, and that's why we're hiring. We've got, great engineering challenges to solve our needs, but it's important to me that we're also growing these people, and anybody landing at Ivendi will have a path that they're on.
Absolutely.
And that might be a grad or even an undergrad, an apprentice, or even people coming in at a more senior level. It's an important part of Ivendi is looking after the people and taking care of them and considering what their career path is and where they want to grow personally and professionally. And we'll try and support that. So coming back to the recruitment, we need to make sure that we're setting up the candidate right to have the right experience with us and get them on the right team, in the right role, doing the right interesting stuff for them. So yeah, flexibility is important, and sometimes we'll hire people, straight away after the first one. Sometimes it might go to 2 or 3, but only if we feel like it's the right thing for us or the candidate to have those extra conversations.
Absolutely, and just as a company, like you said, you are remote first. You're big on work-life balance. I mean, we spoke with Richard, who's one of the co-founders, the COO, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and he was very passionate about making sure it's a work-life balance for everyone who works there.
Yeah.
Again, for a fully remote team, sometimes a big question is how do you maintain a culture and build a culture remotely, right? But one of the great things that they do is the conferences twice per year, which sound amazing, which sound like basically a holiday, paid for, which is amazing.
Don't say that, Rich might hear.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But the conferences are, I've joined relatively recently, right? I joined Ivendi in January.
Of course, yeah.
And so, what attracted me was some of the stuff that you just talked about. Conversations with the founders is Rich and James. They built the business. They're still, leading it. They're the majority owners of it. And in conversations with them, it becomes clear that they do genuinely care about the people in the business. And, the success of the business means the success of the people within it to them. So that was really important to me. But yeah, some of the other good stuff about the culture that attracted me is the conferences. So, we take the whole company away to somewhere in the UK in the summer, do an overnight, do a bit of a business briefing, what we're doing, what we've achieved, where we're heading to, and then typically we'll get on some entertainment and people will stay over, and then the winter conference we do the same thing, but we fly people out to abroad somewhere. There wasn't one this year, obviously, because of lockdown, but they've been out to Lisbon and all kinds of places, and it's a proper thing with proper 5-star entertainment and 5-star hotels. We treat our people well, and it is one of those at times where we know we've got those 2 anchor points in the year where at least the whole company's coming together for those, and then in between we've got quarterly briefings. We're looking at setting up a tech conference in between those as well.
Sure.
So these are the sort of set moments where the company can come together, either as a whole, or also looking at how can we bring the tech community within Ivendi together to just talk about what's going on, what new stuff we're looking at, and the culture of it is good, and we hope to keep it so.
Amazing, yeah. Brilliant. And you touched on there a couple of things about what attracted you to Ivendi. From a technical point of view, what attracted you to Ivendi? Because that's a big part of it for you, of course.
Well, firstly, the tech isn't massively dissimilar to what I've seen before. It's C#.net in AWS, and so that's really a good place to be. Anyway, as a starting point, and what's also great is the containerization, the Kubernetes, and probably what I've not seen other companies used as extensively as it is here is event sourcing, the CQRS side of it. And that's been under the leadership of Steve Flitcroft, who's one of the tech leaders in the company, and that's a really good a pattern for us to be building stuff on. Not all of it's like that. Like I say, we've got some legacy tech debt. It's 10 years old, the stack that we've been building, right? But anything that's been built over the last few years, it's event source. So we've got nicely segregated domains with anti-corruption layers, and I've never seen it used as extensively as it is at iVendi, and it's that's exciting for me, because it's a pattern that makes a lot of sense theoretically to me, and it's great to see it in action and actually seeing the benefits of it. So that's one of the things that attracted me. There's more to do, right? There is the spirit of how can we continue to innovate and improve. So as we've moved everything into AWS, then we'll start looking at some of the other services there. We'll probably start looking at more at serverless and some of the other managed services that are there in AWS that we can take advantage of. A big part of it for me as well was around the opportunity to use data. Because with those numbers we were talking about before, with billions of quotes and millions of unique users every month, we're generating such a lot of insight, or a lot of data rather, into how consumers are looking for cars and searching for them and finding them and ultimately going through finance applications and actually purchasing them. And the insights to be driven from that are massive. There are very few people that have access to that data, and so we do take advantage of it at the moment. But if you imagine some of the benefits we can get from that, about dealers setting their stock, how people are searching for stuff, when people are more likely to buy if they've searched for this, then providing them with this journey instead, and then all the way through to those insights for the dealers about this person that's looking for a car, they were also looking at these other vehicles, and based on what we know about how people search for things, it's likely that they would be interested in this onward journey that will convert to actually selling a vehicle. So there's loads we can do in data, and we talk a lot about some cool stuff around AI and machine learning, and how we can use that data in really cool ways. So that was a really exciting part of it for me. Probably slightly underestimated in the company, the value of the data that we do have. So that's something, a data team is something we're going to be building out over the coming years as well. And that's one of the exciting things for me as well.
That's very exciting, and especially I guess if you're going overseas, and we talked about 200 billion transactions, quotes. Sorry, 200 billion quotes to we're talking about 1 trillion quotes in the future. That's a lot of data. That you're going to be getting. So
and we kind of know what somebody was doing when these quotes were displayed to them, what they might have looked at before, what he went on to do. It's there's some gold there to be mined.
Yeah, absolutely. And valuable for the dealers, the customers, and everyone, I guess. Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of engineers coming in these days also want to be data driven.
Yes.
We can run a lot on instincts, and we've got some great industry minds in our business that help us. But being data driven is really important, and it sort of ties back to that question about curiosity of the why. Why are we doing this? And if you can back that up with some of the data and see how consumers and dealers are interacting with stock and finance and things like that, then that can really drive out the right decisions for the teams to make to drive forward the product.
Sure. Wow. And a big projects, obviously data coming up. Any other projects that you can run us through that I know, obviously scaling overseas, anything in particular that's going on? Obviously if it's sensitive, you don't have to tell us, but
no, there's a lot of stuff. We're planning for the rest of the year and beyond. At the moment, there are literally hundreds of items that we'd like to do, and obviously we can't do all of them. So that's the prioritization piece. I don't know if I can think of anything specific to talk about.
Well, I think that's probably one of the selling points of iVendi, is the fact that someone coming in, it's not just one product that they're going to be working on for the next 10 years and adding functionality to it. There's so many different things you can work on. Yeah. All more complex than the last.
Well, that's it. Our products are right now. Product teams are built around, the stock and search team, who are the experts in vehicle taxonomies, and and the search capabilities we were talking about before, and then we got the lender services team that are, their main concern is around the financing and integrations with the lenders, and then the third team is around retail, who are being in that place where helping the retailers in the dealership or digitally to interact with the customers and and sell stuff. And so each of those product areas has a really rich and robust product roadmap of what they think is the right thing to do for those areas of the business. And there's loads of exciting stuff coming up. It's going to be really good.
Brilliant, fantastic. And you've been in tech for how long have you been in the tech? Sorry to
no, it's all right.
Say this,
it's must be 25 years now.
Wow. Okay, yep. So you know your stuff, of course. If you wouldn't have gone into if you didn't go into tech, I always find it quite interesting to ask. What would you have done? Do you think?
Yes, it's an interesting question. I when I was young, sort of at school, I was interested in being a pilot, so a commercial airline pilot.
Yeah,
might have got into that, but if I reflect on what I actually enjoy doing now, which is, or what I've always enjoyed doing, which is building stuff. I used to be building bits of software and then building bigger components and architectures, and now building teams. It would probably have been some other engineering field that maybe wasn't software engineering, but allowed me to build stuff, because that's really what I enjoy.
Cool. And why do you enjoy it? Is that so you can see it see the finished products? Is that where you get the most satisfaction?
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, and even for, when any new engineers coming into the business, one of the satisfying things is if you make a change and you can see it being used, in quite a short cycle. And so that was the satisfaction I used to derive from building software. And now obviously the scope of it is slightly bigger. We're building product teams to deliver big stuff out into the industry and be quite disruptive and take whole new things into whole new territories. I'm building stuff that people are going to use. Yeah. And now, as I've gone through my career, the scale has got bigger, but it's the same sort of sense of satisfaction that I've always had.
Look, and I think just talking about how you got into technology, one of the big things we want to get out of this podcast is to use it to, again, impart wisdom on people who are getting into tech, or want to pursue a career in tech, or who are already in tech perhaps, and are feeling they want to make that next move or whatever. For people who are, say, getting into the tech industry, what would be a piece of advice from you that would help them?
There's a lot we could choose from, right? But if I had to pick one bit of advice, I'd probably go into be curious about the context, about the why. Because curiosity about tech is almost a bit like a given. You should, if you're in this business, you should be interested in it. But as you go into a company and you're starting off in your career, or you're going through your career, understand why you're working on the things that you're working on. And I think with that context, you'll appreciate the opportunities that are around you, and understand what it is that makes you happy and satisfied in your job, and where opportunities present themselves in your career. You'll have a better chance of being able to spot them if you've not just been heads down in the code, but rather you're looking at the broader why. And I'd say people that are more like that are more likely to develop their careers in ways that they want to, and it makes them happy, because they understand what it's all about, what the business is, what the opportunities are. And that doesn't mean that they won't be engineers and great engineers, maybe for all of their career, but they'll understand the context that they're sitting in, and they'll see those opportunities to grow and challenge at the right moments, and have that sense of empowerment and autonomy because they understand why they're doing stuff. So I'd say that'd be one. If I had to pick one bit of advice, it'd be that: be curious about why you're doing it, what the business context is.
If you're genuinely curious, I assume in interviews that's going to come across as you said it.
Yeah, it tends to. But and that's what we'd be looking for. But just as advice to anyone, just do that, because it's kind of enriching and interesting to understand that. The tech's interesting as well, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm an engineer, but that broader view of the world is really important, and will stand you in good stead.
Be curious. I like it. That's the why. Okay, awesome. And look, I guess just to wrap up, because I don't want to keep you too long. We were talking about work-life balance before, and this is something that I always ask everybody that I'm either qualifying for a job or even hiring managers a lot of the time, because I think it gives a good insight into the kind of person you are. And I think also if people are watching this who perhaps are thinking about a role at iVendi, I think it's a good insight into the kind of fellow you are. When you're not building big teams to take over the world, what do you get up to when you're not in tech, in work?
At this phase of my life, it's predominantly family oriented. So, my wonderful wife and 3 kids, I tend to spend most of my downtime doing stuff with them, which is, rewarding and, allows me to switch off. My kids are almost all teenagers now. And so, that might involve me getting thrashed at Mario Kart quite often, and all the things that I used to be better at them.
Yeah.
That now, they can beat me at most things like that, which is a bit of a shame. So it tends to be hanging out with them and doing things, and we enjoy we enjoy traveling. We go to Wales quite a lot. Even pre-pandemic, we tended to stay in Wales quite a lot.
Right.
It's a beautiful country, and so that's probably taking up most of my my time outside of work at the moment is just watching them grow and hanging out with them.
Good on you. And working at a company like iVendi, who give you the flexibility to be able to do that and hang out with your family more.
That's right. Yeah. We use the term flexible first, and that's true. We have certain core hours that we try and get people in, but we are really flexible. There are people with different situations, and as long as they are able to contribute with the team that they're working with, then we do allow a lot of flexibility, and it'd be interesting to see what happens post-pandemic. We haven't got any concrete plans about opening another Manchester office. We'll definitely stay remote first, but we also want to bring people together sometimes, and we've got the conferences that we talked about, the quarterly briefings, and maybe the tech conferences as well. So probably at least every 6 weeks, people will be coming together physically to sort of catch up and socialize and do that physical thing that makes us all enjoy life as humans, interacting.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, look, I think that's about it, mate. Thank you for coming down, and excited to see how the teams grow over the next 18 months.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Cheers.